Hello everyone, it's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com. Today we have a non-tarantula video because we have got the jealous cat right here. I wanted to give a quick health update. This is my 19-and-a-half-year-old baby, and she has recently had a seizure. For those of you who follow Ava on my channel, I know I usually talk about spiders, but this is my other pet baby. And she is very dear to me. And she has quite a few health issues as a 19-and-a-half-year-old cat. And one of those is seizures. We are not really sure what causes, but we do know that giving her seizure medication has greatly decreased them. Before she got on this medication, she used to have seizures almost every day, and it was really, really scary. And since being on anticonvulsive medication for the last few years, the seizures are really only happening every few years, which is a blessing. Even if it was just once a year, that would be a blessing. So it was happening every other year or about, and recently she just had another one. Usually the way that these seizures happen is that she will be napping or, sleeping. And I don't know if it's that she has a dream that kind of distresses her, or I'm not sure what goes on in her brain because we really don't know what the cause of her seizures are. But something happens neurologically. And so Ava usually kind of gets jolted out of her sleep by the seizures. And it's really sad because it usually ends up with like her falling off of a couch or off of a bed, which is very dangerous when you're 19-and-a-half years old and an elderly kitty. And as small as she is, this is like a 4.5-pound kitty. And so she used to have these episodes, and it was very strange. She used to kind of just shake around, be really disoriented, start circling kind of thing. And I will say that her most recent episode was probably the most like convulsive seizure she's ever had, in where like her legs were paddling. She was kind of shaking. It was really, really scary. I actually, because it was different from her other seizures that she'd had before, I actually thought she might have been having a heart attack or a stroke. And so I just kind of tried to help her not hurt herself as she was on the floor, and just try to keep her calm and talk to her. When you're 19-and-a-half-years old, an emergency could really happen at any time. And so, I was kind of curious about what was going on, but also preparing myself for the worst. However, she was able to get through this seizure. It probably lasted about maybe a minute or two. It's usually not for very long, but when it's happening, it seems like it'll go on forever. And fortunately, she stays conscious the entire time, and she is aware. Her heart was beating really, really hard. So I just tried to keep her and talk to her calmly. And then she was a little bit disoriented when it was over and when she kind of stopped moving. And then, 30 seconds later, she's jumping back on the couch to eat treats. So I was kind of like, okay, good. But I was very shaken up by it. And I was afraid it was going to happen again, because this was just a different kind of seizure than she'd ever had. But I spent some time on YouTube watching videos of cats who have seizures, as well as heart attacks and strokes, which is just absolutely a terrible thing to have to do. But it is good to know the symptoms. So if you have an elderly cat or a cat that's having health issues, I do suggest that you educate yourself about whether it's through YouTube videos or actually looking at articles from reputable sources to know the symptoms, because the symptoms of strokes, heart attacks, and seizures are quite different. And I didn't really know that until this particular seizure happened, and I was like, really seeking out like what happened to her. So the vet is aware, and this happened a few weeks ago. And she hasn't had one since, so they're not really thinking about changing her seizure meds or upping her dose or anything, because the guidance is pretty much like, as long as the cat's having seizures once a month or less, they're not going to make any changes, because some cats or some animals just never get fully cured of their seizure disorders. It's more of just managing it. And that's really precisely what we've been doing with Ava, because we really don't know what causes or what was the original cause of her developing seizures. So she continues to get her medication. She's doing really, really well. Everything else has been very normal. So I'm hoping that that was like her once every 3-year seizure. But I did want to share this with you guys because one, you guys do sometimes ask about her, and she is doing really well besides this. And I also wanted to share, in case any of you have elderly cats who maybe have a seizure disorder or have a chronic health issue, particularly like epilepsy or something like that, I wanted to share some information because I did do a bit of research. Some things that I did notice when I was watching videos of cats having seizures on YouTube was that sometimes these cats would kind of distance themselves from you. They'll kind of, when cats get uncomfortable, they'll go to a place where they can be alone or that's a little bit more quiet. Some cats meow very loudly while this is happening to them. That didn't happen with Ava, actually. I also saw a lot of videos where cats will kind of get frothy at the mouth, or they'll have a lot of saliva, and that didn't happen to her either. So, take all of this in as possibilities, but not general guidance about what happens when a cat has a seizure. But then you'll also have like these uncontrolled muscle movements. Sometimes it looks like circling. Ava's definitely had those kind of seizures. Sometimes it looks like a loss of balance. I've seen quite a few videos of cats going into more of these shaky type seizures on the ground, and that's certainly what Ava had. A lot of like leg paddling and not really being able to control their movements. And I will say that that's probably the worst part of it, is that hopefully your cat stays conscious while having a seizure. And that certainly happened with Ava, but you can just tell that it's scary for them too. Like, you and as an observer are terrified and you can't wait for it to stop. But I think the hardest part was like wanting to help and seeing that she's scared, feeling her heart pounding so hard and fast, and you just, feel the terror. I can only imagine. I, as a human, have never had a seizure, and so I have no idea what it's like, but I am sure it is terrifying as a tiny little animal to go through that, and to not actually know what's going on and not really have anybody who can help you. If your cat has seizures, I really do recommend going to the vet for medication. Seizures are fortunately very common to treat. They're very well managed with medication. Ava originally went on phenobarbital. That worked for her for years like a charm. And then because of how it was affecting other organs in her body and her age, we had to switch her to Keppra, I think is the brand name. And that has also worked really wonderfully. So I really do believe in how medicine can help these chronic conditions, and they've really helped her live a good quality of life where she doesn't have to worry about having seizures too often. So as far as the length of seizures, I've seen videos where cats have longer ones, but Ava's seizures, I have never actually timed them. They feel like they go on forever, but I think realistically it's probably about a minute and 30 seconds. And then the recovery time is very important to kind of keep their environment calm, because Ava will take an extra minute to kind of regain her strength and her balance. It seems like it takes probably like 30 seconds after a seizure for her to kind of rest and for her brain to come back online. And, she's going to try to get up and walk and stuff. And she doesn't have full control over her muscles yet, or her body hasn't fully recovered. So you want to just make sure that there's not anything that they can hurt themselves, or like they can't try to go down the stairs or anything like that. Like, one thing that I definitely did have the presence of mind to do is when she fell off the couch, she kept trying to basically run or walk away from the seizure, and she was moving. And if she had been able to get herself down the hall, she could have gone down the stairs. So I did actually make a move to close the door so that I could at least keep her in my office, where she couldn't really hurt herself on too many things. So just try to do whatever you can to make them comfortable during and after. It's a terrible experience. You can't stop the seizure from happening. You also It can be quite dangerous to restrain them while a seizure is happening, just as it would be dangerous to restrain a person. You're not supposed to do that. So just try to really take care of them in the aftercare. After a seizure, Ava always gets treats. That certainly helps her feel like herself again and helps her very easily forget what just happened to her. So I just wanted to share that with you. She's doing fine now. She continues to get her weekly treatments with her vet to get her fluids for the kidney disease. She's getting all her meds, no seizures. She is acting like her crazy self, but we're going to monitor it and, just see what comes next. But I did want to share this because I didn't see a lot of information about, there's a lot of videos about seizures, but they all kind of look a little bit different. And so my cat seizure, I don't have it on video because getting my phone was like the last thing that was on my mind when that was happening. But know that they can vary, and know that usually your cat will not lose consciousness, and that they will, after about a minute or two, they usually will come out of it. So definitely educate yourself if you have an older cat and they have a chronic health issue. Anyway, this is the beautiful baby Ava. She's doing great. Bossy as ever. And thank you for listening. I know sometimes people are like, why are you talking about your cat on a tarantula channel? But Ava has become a part of Tarantula Heaven, and she's a big part of my heart. So, yeah, next week I will be talking about tarantulas again. Take care. Bye-bye.